ever had one of those days where you did everything? You finished the project at work, you answered the emails nobody else wanted to answer, you fixed the mistake that technically wasn't yours, you remembered somebody's birthday, you picked up the groceries on your way home, you made dinner, you helped with homework, you scheduled the doctor's appointment that everyone else forgot, and you cleaned the kitchen. And then, around 10 o'clock at night, you finally sat down and you looked around your house. Everything is done. Everyone else seems relaxed. And instead of feeling proud, you just feel empty. Not because you didn't accomplish enough, because you feel like there's something more to do, even when there's nothing left to do, because the hamster wheel in your brain never actually stopped. If that's familiar, I want to ask you a question. What if the problem isn't that you aren't doing enough? What if you're doing far too much, especially the things that were never yours to carry in the first place? If you never heard the word overfunctioning, this video might explain years of your life. Today, I want to unpack what overfunctioning actually is, why high achievers are especially vulnerable to it, and why understanding this pattern might change the way you look at your entire life. It's 6 p.m. The house goes quiet for a second. Everyone else has stopped. And instead of sitting in that quiet, your hands find something to do. That itch, the one that shows up the second everything goes still, it has a name. Overfunctioning. Overfunctioning is consistently taking on responsibilities that other capable adults could carry themselves. Notice what I didn't say. I didn't say that overfunctioning was helping people. Helping is healthy. We all need help sometimes. But overfunctioning is different. It's stepping in before anyone else has had the opportunity to step up. It's answering questions people could figure out. It's fixing problems people could solve. It's managing emotions people could regulate. Carrying responsibilities that were never officially yours, but somehow ended up on your shoulders anyway. And after a while, it becomes automatic. You don't even think about it anymore. You just do. Because your nervous system has learned something incredibly powerful. It has learned that stepping in feels safe, and stepping back feels dangerous. That's why overfunctioning isn't just a behavior, it's a survival strategy. From the outside, people see someone who is dependable. On the inside, it often feels like you're preventing disaster. One of the most fascinating things about overfunctioning is that it almost always creates an opposite pattern around you. Psychologists sometimes call this the overfunctioner underfunctioner dynamic. The more one person expands, the more everyone else unconsciously contracts. When you're always remembering, other people stop remembering. When you're always fixing, other people stop trying. When you're always anticipating needs, other people stop noticing them. It's not usually intentional. It's simply how the system adapts. If one person carries everything, everyone else gradually learns they don't have to. So where does this pattern come from? This pattern is rarely new. Most people don't wake up at 35 and decide, I think I'll carry everyone else's responsibilities. It usually starts much earlier. For me, it started around the time I started puberty. I was going through a lot of changes, but my family was too. My parents were going through a rough patch where divorce seemed imminent. My little sister was sick and had to go to the hospital every month. To me, my life seemed to be so chaotic at that time. So in an effort to find stability in my life, I started regulating my family's emotions. I started being the perfect daughter, the perfect sister. I started reading my parents' moods. I defaulted to whatever made my parents give me praise instead of concern. I became very logical and shut down all of my emotions before I ever learned what they were or even learned how to explain them. I decided to fulfill the role of what I thought the perfect daughter, the perfect big sister should be. Maybe you too were the oldest daughter, the responsible one, the mature one, the little adult. Maybe you became the emotional support person for your parents long before you were old enough to understand what emotional support even was. Or maybe you discovered that achievement earned attention, good grades, perfect behavior, being helpful, being dependable, being the one teachers loved, being the employee everyone could count on. Every time you did more, someone praised you. Every time you carried extra, you were rewarded. So your brain, like mine, reached the entirely reasonable conclusion.
This is how I stay safe. This is how I am valued. This is how I earn my place.
I remember talking to a woman who told me something I'd never forget. She said, "I don't know who'd I be if nobody needed me." Think about that. Not, "I like helping," not, "I enjoy contributing." I don't know who'd I be if nobody needed me. That's not generosity anymore. That's identity. And once helping becomes your identity, stopping doesn't feel uncomfortable. It feels like losing yourself. Here's the important part. You didn't become an overfunctioner because something was wrong with you. You became one because it worked. It helped you survive. It helped you belong. It helped you succeed. The problem is, what helped you survive at 10 may be exhausting you at 40. If this conversation is already making you see yourself differently, I'd love to have you here every week. So go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel, Evolve with Alana, because this entire channel is about helping high-achieving women stop carrying what was never theirs to carry in the first place. Every week, we're talking about practical ways to work, lead, and live without burning yourself out. Now, let's keep going. Now, let's connect this specifically to high achievers, because not every high achiever overfunctions, but almost every chronic overfunctioner I meet is a high achiever. They're highly capable, intelligent, reliable, successful. People trust them. They're often the person everyone calls first, which sounds flattering until you realize you're everybody's emergency contact. High achievers often develop a deep identity connection between productivity and worth. Doing becomes proof. Results become reassurance. If something slips, your nervous system doesn't hear,
Oh, that one project? It was delayed.
it hears.
You're failing.
Even letting someone else do something can create anxiety. Not because you think they're incapable, because uncertainty feels threatening. Doing it yourself feels safer. Workplaces often make this even worse because who do they say gets promoted? The person who volunteers, who solves problems, who handles crises, who goes above and beyond, who never says no. So your overfunctioning gets rewarded until suddenly you're managing 3 people's jobs and everyone assumes that's just what you're capable of. Then you go home and it doesn't stop. You're keeping track of appointments, planning vacations, remembering birthdays, knowing what's in the refrigerator, buying gifts, checking on homework, monitoring everyone's emotions. This invisible work even has a name. It's called the mental load. And because it's invisible, people often don't realize you're carrying it. They just experience life running smoothly. Meanwhile, you're exhausted. And over time, the cost starts showing up. Maybe your sleep gets worse. Maybe you're constantly tense. Maybe you can't relax, even on vacation. Relationships become resentful, not because you don't love people, but because you're quietly wondering.
Why am I the only one holding everything together?
Perhaps the biggest loss of all, you slowly lose touch with yourself. Because when you're constantly managing everyone else's lives, you stop asking, what do I actually want? Here's the good news: overfunctioning is learned, which means it can be unlearned. The first step isn't changing your behavior, it's noticing your behavior without shame, without judgment, without calling yourself controlling or broken or weak. Instead, be curious. Notice how often you step in automatically. Notice how uncomfortable it feels to pause. Notice how quickly your brain tells you.
It'll just be easier if I do it.
Awareness creates choice, and choice creates change. I have an exercise for you. I want you to get a notebook for this one, not your notes app, an actual notebook with paper and pen. On a page, I want you to write down everything you're currently carrying at work, at home, in your relationships. What are your responsibilities? What are you in charge of? Then I want you to answer these questions honestly. Which of these responsibilities are genuinely mine to hold? Which of these responsibilities belong to someone else and I just picked them up along the way? When did I start doing this and who taught me this was necessary? And this last question, I don't want you to rush through it. If you put one of these things down tomorrow, what do you think would actually happen? Not what you fear would happen, what you actually think would happen. The goal isn't becoming someone who never helps. The world needs generous people. The goal is something much healthier: showing up fully for what genuinely belongs to you and trusting other capable adults with what belongs to them. That doesn't weaken relationships, it actually strengthens them. Because healthy relationships aren't built on one person carrying everything, they're built on shared responsibility, shared growth, and shared trust. So here's what I'd love to know: where do you notice yourself overfunctioning the most? Is it at work or is it at home? Let me know in the comments down below. I read all of them, and your stories help shape the conversations that we have here on this channel. And one more thing, I'm currently interviewing women for a new course I'm creating. It's about breaking free from chronic overfunctioning. These are simply conversation calls to better understand what you're experiencing, what has been your hardest parts of your journey, and what kind of support would actually help. If you'd like to be part of these interviews, there's a link down in the description down below. I genuinely would love to hear your story. Your insights will help shape a course that truly meets women where they are. And remember, you do not have to earn your worth by carrying the weight of the whole world. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.